Hello and welcome back to this 50 Days with God program. We are on our second to last day, and we really hope that you have enjoyed this series with many topics about health, spiritual topics, future topics, and many different topics.
Good day, my dear friends. We are going to start to study about a very important topic today. It's about tithes and offerings. Why we should be paying tithes and offerings, and why it is necessary for us to pay God back again whatever He is giving to us. Is He bankrupt, or is He expecting something from us because He haven't? Something like that. No, it's not. But we need to examine and we need to see why we are talking as Christians. We are talking about tithes and offerings to the Lord. So we need to understand this offertory system, the systematic benevolence, and know why we are paying this, so that we can pay very cheerfully to the Lord. I like to read first of all from the book 2 Corinthians in the Bible. 2 Corinthians chapter 9 verse 7, we read Apostle Paul happened to tell a very interesting and very important verse over here. He says, every man according to as he purposeth in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loveth a cheerful giver. Not grudgingly. If we are going to give anything to God, we should not grudge that. Oh, why I should pay this? Can't I keep a portion? Can't I just give a little and keep the rest of it? Because I also need money and I have a lot of expenses to meet. So these kind of thoughts comes to us as human beings, yes. But God blesses everyone who cheerfully give to Him. So this we need to keep in mind, because it has in the Bible. All of us, we know the golden text of the Bible, John 3:16. God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish. So God gave His only begotten Son for us, for our salvation, in order to save us and restore us as we never did a sin, never committed a sin. So this is the love that God had, and the day that He gave Jesus Christ to us, He emptied Himself. He emptied heavens and He emptied the universe, and He gave His only begotten Son to die for us. So we cannot imagine this kind of a sacrifice. Just imagine that you have one child and you are sacrificing that child for someone else, or a created being. You cannot imagine this kind of a love. That how can we pay back to such a God? And how can we do this? So the only way we can show our gratitude, of course there are so many ways we can show gratitude, is, I could say, only way is stewardship. Stewardship has many aspects. The talents, the time, and so many things, it all come under stewardship. But today we are going to examine about money matters, the offertory system, stewardship of money. Now, how much belong to God, or what are the things that God owns? So we can see that in how much belongs to God, that question, the answer we find in Psalms 24:1. Psalms 24:1 we read, the earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. So many Psalms we have. Psalms 103, 50, 10 and 11, Haggai 2:8, all these verses we find that this earth is belong to God. The universe is belong to God. So we just occupy His possession, His property. So it's our duty to pay him back our gratitude. So this is very important, and it is very important for us to keep in mind this offertory system was given originally to the Israelites. So someone might have a genuine, sincere question, that, and it's very reasonable as well, maybe why then we as Christians had to pay tithes and offering, because that system was introduced, or that system was given to the Israelites. So based on that, we have to study why we should be paying. So I like to take two examples from the Bible. Two examples. One, I would say it's Abraham, the patriarch, and another patriarch, that is Jacob. So I like to compare, and I like to get some lessons out of their character and their stories, how and why we should be paying tithes, because these both of these patriarchs, they paid tithes and offerings, and they were blessed for paying tithes and offerings. So based on the life experience of Abraham, we find that Abraham paid tithes for mainly for three reasons. Three reasons he had. One, he paid the tithes and offerings according to Genesis chapter 14 verse 22, because God is the creator. Abraham recognized God as his creator, so he paid the tithes and offerings to that God. So that is one reason. So we recognize him as our creator as well. So we have to pay tithes and offerings like the Abraham. And we have God is one who blesses us. And he said that, okay, all the blessings are coming to me from him, so I should reciprocate, or I should pay my gratitude towards him. So he paid tithes and offerings to God who blesses Abraham. So again, we find that Abraham paid tithes because God preserves human life. So God is the protector. God is always taking care of us. So because of that reason, Abraham paid tithe. So Abraham's tithing practice was based solidly on the conviction that God owns everything, and God controls everything, and God blesses all of us. So these things Abraham was having in mind, so he paid back to that living God. But when we are going to compare about Jacob's story, we find in Genesis chapter 28 verses 10 through 22, we read Jacob's story. And in this we find that Lord appeared to Jacob in a dream, revealing himself as a loving and caring God. And here we find that he was willing to bless Jacob, and Jacob had confidence in God. So because of that, because he had this dream and he had this experience with God, so Jacob made a vow. He made a vow. He promised to return a tithe on everything God gave him. Everything that God gave him. My dear friends, please try to understand, Abraham or Jacob, when they were paying tithes, they did not pay from their increase. They also paid increase plus all what they had. And this is a system they had in at the time of Israelites, because the economy, they were having an agricultural economy, not an industrial economy like nowadays. So this agricultural economical setup, they were nomads, and they were having all kind of livestock, and all what they had, they divided and into the portions. Like, okay, they took one tenth the tithe and paid as an offering to God. So this is a kind of practice they were having. Now, when we are looking at Jacob's experience, he was having a two-way relationship with God. Two-way relationship with God. And here we find, since we know the history and the story of Jacob's commitment to God, we find that he's committing himself. Lord, you bless me and I am going to pay you all what I have. I'm going to pay you the tithe, or the 1/10 of everything, the increase as well as what I have. So secondly, we find that God's concern towards Jacob. God's concern. Now, first we found that from Jacob to God, and the second note we find that it's from God to Jacob. What are the blessings he received? One is he received descendants after him. He had sons. So this is a huge blessing, because we know how many years Abraham was waiting for a child, and ultimately he got Isaac. Of course, he was trying to find a shortcut, and it became a chaos even now. And but here we find that Jacob always was blessed with descendants. He had many children. And again, God gave him the protection from the enemies, protection from his own brother who was angry with Jacob. So protection was given. Plus we find that he was given land. God gave him land. Why? Why Jacob was so blessed? Because of these tithes and offerings and the gratitude he had towards God. So because of that, he received everything, and then he received also goods. So he had descendants, protection, land, goods. These are the things that led or driven Jacob to pay tithes and offerings to the Lord with a delightful heart. Besides this, God's promises to Jacob, we find that God said, I will give you land. I am with you. I will watch over you. I will bring you back to this land. I will not abandon you. I will do what I have promised. So all these things we can summarize. I just summarized because we have a very limited time. So all these things came from God's part. My dear friends, we need to keep in mind the blessings and all what God gave to Jacob. Even today, it's applicable to us. We may apply the same principle. If we pay tithes and offerings to the Lord with a cheerful heart, we will also inherit all these blessings. I will give you land. I am with you. I will watch over you. I will bring you back to this land. I will not abandon you. I will do what I have promised. This is a big blessing Jacob inherited from God for paying his gratitude towards God. So this is a two-way relationship. Even today, we are having the same kind of a relationship. What kind of relationship? We love God and God loves us. So because we love Him, we keep our vow. Lord, I am going to bring you all the tithes and offerings. The 1/10 is a tithe, and the offerings are free will. And likewise, we just go forward. So by taking a vow, Jacob recognized that the tithe belonged to the Lord. He made a vow, 10%, 1/10. I am going to pay you. So he recognizes God, here we find. And again, this vow, Jacob expressed his free will. Nobody forced him. Today, sometimes, the treasurers of the churches, or sometimes the priests, sometimes the pastors, they come and tell that, oh, brother, sister, you have to pay your tithes. You have not paid tithes. But in Jacob's situation, it was not like that. He himself made that vow and he fulfilled it. So this is kind of feeling, or this is a kind of attitude we all need to have. Because if we have that kind of attitude, then we will be blessed abundantly, because a cheerful giver will receive abundant income, abundant blessing, abundant revenue, abundance of good health, peace of mind. We can just add the list. The list is huge. We can always mention about these things. So now the tithing system, sometimes you might ask that why we should pay the tithes. And these are the two examples we got, and how they were being blessed. Abraham was like a king. He had his own army. And why? Because he paid his tithes and offerings, and he was grateful to God, and God blessed him abundantly. Today, we were given a challenge. We need to pay him the tithes and offerings, and we need to see how far God is going to bless us. So here we find about unfaithfulness in tithes and offerings. If we won't pay, and we just saw the blessings of paying, like Abraham, Jacob, but if we won't pay, we find in Malachi chapter 3 verse 9 what is written there: "Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole nation." He's warning the Israelites, you have robbed me. If you don't pay the tithes and offerings, you have robbed me. And then what is going to happen? Ye are cursed with a curse. Oh Lord, don't curse us. Oh Lord, if we have not paid the tithes and offerings so far, if we have not shown our gratitude, we should not be subject to his curses. We should always receive his blessings. So we were given that promise. But we should reciprocate. We should pay back, and then expect Jesus or God to always to bless us. And sometimes you might think, did Jesus approve this system? Because yes, of course, Abraham paid, Jacob paid, and it's in the Old Testament. And in the New Testament, or did Jesus approve this tithing system, tithes and offerings? And Matthew, come with me to Matthew chapter 23, verse 23. It says, Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For ye pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. It is implied in this verse that you do something good, but it doesn't mean to say because you are doing this, you should neglect the other. You should not neglect the other. So this is a kind of idea, or this is a kind of implied term that we find here, that Jesus also endorsed tithes and offerings, but he needs us, or he wants the Pharisees and scribes to do something further. We need to show our love also. So that is a different subject. So and we all have to keep in mind, according to Malachi chapter 3 verse 10, that bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse. We need to take it to the storehouse of the Lord. So where is the storehouse of the Lord today? In today's context, his storehouse is in his church. So we need to bring our tithes and offerings to the church, because we need to keep that in mind, that the theology behind tithes and offerings, that we pay to God, and God is asking us to go and hand over my tithe portion which you gave me now. Go back to your church and pay these tithes and offerings. So this is a command of God and this is the direction of God, but we pay to Him and He asking us to go and hand it over to the church, so we do that. So this is a kind of simple logic, simple theology we should keep in mind, that about tithes and offerings. So and we all this time, though I mentioned tithes and offerings, we did not talk about offerings or the free will offerings much, but we were talking about tithe. The 1/10 belong to God and we need to pay that to Him. But there are offering systems also existing. It was told that 14 different types of offerings can be identified in the Old Testament. 14 kinds of offerings. It's very fascinating to note that approximately a faithful Jew used to pay 1/3 of his total income to God. 1/3. It's not just simple. They pay Him. The tithes they pay, and then offer, so many offerings they have. And all these offerings they pay to God. And because of that giving, they were blessed abundantly. Our time, our talents, all the spiritual gifts and materials means everything we should offer to God. Then God will bless us, and we need to keep that in mind. We need to pay the tithes and offerings, and we can claim from Him. Lord, you commanded us, and we paid the tithes and offerings. Now it's your turn to bless us. So we can always demand in such a way, and we can always ask God, please help us, Lord. We are fulfilling your command, and now it's your turn to bless us. So we need to keep that in mind all the time. 1 Corinthians chapter 16 verses 1 through 4, we find that, it's very fascinating, these verses we find. Now concerning the collection for the saints, as I have given order to the churches in Galatia, even so do ye. Upon the first day of the week, let every one of you lay by him in store, as God has prospered him, that there be no gatherings when I come. And when I come, whomsoever ye shall approve by your letters, them will I send to bring your liberality unto Jerusalem. And if it be meet that I go also, they shall go with me. So does this mean that Apostle Paul talking that that you can collect some offerings on the first day of the week, and something very vague, or he's not very sure what he's talking? No, it's not like that. He's telling very firmly, when I come, don't waste your time collecting money, but beforehand, before I come, collect all the monies, all these free will offerings of the people, and when I go, I can carry those with me to Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the headquarters of the church, so it need to go there. So now he's asking and he's making an appeal. Before I come, you do these collections and keep. When I come, don't waste your time on these things, because we have a lot of things to learn and study. So this is what it means there. So Apostle Paul also endorsed the free will offerings, tithes and offerings, and free will offerings as well. This was directed towards the poor people, and it will be taken to Jerusalem, and church headquarters in Jerusalem will distribute through the stewards or through the deacons all these needy people. So this offertory system is very important, and due to the time constraint, I am not going to talk further on this subject, but we need to keep in mind, if we want to be blessed, if you want to check God whether He is going to bless you or not, then you need to pay the tithes and offerings and see how much God is going to give you as a blessing. But if you don't pay tithes and offerings, you will be cursed with a curse according to the book of Malachi. So it's very clear now, we need to pay tithes and offerings. Not only the tithes and offerings, the offerings are free will and the tithe is mandatory according to the scriptures. So today we were seeing this very important topic about tithes and offerings, and if you need any further study on this, you may communicate with the organizers of this program, and always we are there to help you to have better understanding and more understanding about this subject. May God bless you and have a good day.
What an interesting topic that I'm sure we all enjoyed and can take good use in our life. And just like today, in the next video, we have another fascinating topic entitled, Don't Let Anyone Take Your Crown.
Continue joining us throughout this program. If you haven't seen all the topics, go back and take a look at them. We are approaching our last day, so pay attention.
We hope you can join us there, and we hope to see you. Goodbye.